it's going to be good. Wait till the end. So, I'm kind of a geek on history, and I just have a fun time digging around, and I've done a lot of digging around this year on this. Last fall, when the weather was still nice, I made a little brochure that I went around the neighborhood, and it says, "My name is Karl Bruhn. I'm one of your neighbors. I live at 524 McKee Street, and I'm not trying to sell anything, and I'm not running for Congress. I think you live in a Sears house, because there are Sears houses all over town, all over everywhere, and a lot of them are not official ones. There's an official list of 22 by the Batavia Historical Society Museum, but there's a lot more than that, and it's fun to knock on people's houses, and then the first question is, does that make my house worth more money?" And just in case you're curious, there have been 2 houses recently in Batavia that are Sears houses that have been taken well care of over the years, and they've sold for over $500,000. So if you've got one, I'm just curious, anybody here live in a Sears house? Good for you. Yeah, okay. Well, we got a lot to talk about today, and I shortened the program a little while ago, so a little background first, if you sort of know what's going on. Okay, this is a guy named Julius Rosenwald, who was born in Springfield, Illinois, and he took over, he was the vice president at Sears when Richard Sears was the president, and took it over, and he changed the company, and he made it what it is now. Now, if you've been hearing in the news lately, they're going to change the name of the Museum of Science and Industry. Julius Rosenwald was the guy that started the museum, and he didn't want his name on the door, because if his name was on the door, people wouldn't donate money to it when they needed to upgrade and stuff like this. But this guy was a genius, and after we're done, if you want to talk about Julius Rosenwald for a while, he was just amazing. He took over after Richard Sears retired, and when Richard was still there, the sales were $750,000 a year, which was a lot of money back then. And Julius Rosenwald raised it to about $50 million a year. He knew how to do marketing and stuff. He oversaw the design and construction of their first brick and mortar department store. When Richard Sears ran it, it was all mail order. And then Julius came up with this great idea. He moved the headquarters to Holman Avenue. It's 40 acres. Some of you probably know where it is or seen it. If you take the Burlington to Chicago, you go right through there, what was left of their yard. They had the original Sears Tower there, and they started selling Sears kit houses. Okay, Sears had been publishing catalogs for a long time. Sears knew how to sell stuff, he just didn't know how to run the company very well, okay? Here's an example of the 1908 catalog from the archives, and this is interesting. This book will be sent free to any address. Write us a letter and a postal card and say, send me your catalog. We'll send it to you free. They had a huge mailing list in the old days when you had to do that by hand and stuff like that. So in 1908 is when this catalog came out. The same year, in 1908, Sears issued its first catalog of houses, featuring 44 styles and ranging in price. This was the cheapest house you could get without a bathroom for $260 up to $2,860. That was for a four-room house, 2 bedrooms, and it had a porch in front, and a lot of people eventually turned the porch in front into an extra room. Since Sears already had catalogs sent to several million homes, they had a distinct advantage over its competitors. We're going to talk about the competitors here in a minute. When your house came, it came on a railroad car, a box car. You can see the top of the box car. You can see it kind of like written in there. And then you can see all of the stuff that was in the railroad car, okay? It weighed about 25 tons, and it had about 30,000 parts in it, including nails, okay, and shingles, and everything you needed to build your house. You needed to live near a railroad because it came on a railroad, okay? The plumbing, heating systems, electrical fixtures could be ordered at additional cost, and there were many families, and they were many families' first steps in living in a modern home with modern kitchens and bathrooms once upon a time. Also, asphalt shingles and modern drywall called good wall were new, okay? Sears was the guys that really got asphalt shingles off. Before that, they were wooden shingles. My house used to have wooden shingles on it, okay? They came up with a lot of different catalogs over the years, and they called their houses honored built, and they misspelled built purposely. It's not misspelled there. But they had new catalogs every couple of years, toting all the newest things they have. And there's a picture of a house there that we're going to talk more about later. This is on the cover of one of their catalogs. What does a Sears kit house look like? Could you possibly recognize one? Okay, here we go. Sears house or not? No. Sears house? No. Sears house? No. Sears house? Good for you. Sears house? No. Okay? Yeah, good guess though. It looks like it. This one was built in 1946, and it's on Jefferson Street, and it looks just like a Sears house. There were a lot of builders that were copycats, and they took the ideas from Sears and others, and then they started building houses like that. But Sears quit making houses in 1938 and quit selling them in 1940. But this one looks like, yeah, could be. In a little while, I'll tell you why it doesn't look like one. Sears house? Yes. This was 4 square, and this is one that they sold thousands of them. Now, how many houses did Sears sell? Nobody knows. Okay? When they quit selling houses, they quit for a couple of different reasons, and Sears decided, foolishly, to get rid of all of their paperwork. They just destroyed it all. This is when they were on Holman Avenue in Chicago, and they go, we're out of the house business, and we'll tell you why in a little bit. But that's one of the really beautiful 4 squares. Okay, and it also has about 6 different names. In the different catalogs, they changed something. Okay, giveaway are the posts on the front porch. The bricks underneath the posts down to the foundation, that's a giveaway. It's a Sears house. The arrangement of the windows. Back in the days when people need social things to do, they used to sit on the front porch instead of watch TV and talk to each other. So a lot of the Sears houses had big front porches where people could sit. And this is a prize one that's still in Batavia. Okay, Sears house? It is. Yeah. They got excited about the Dutch style of houses, and that's one of the ones that they did. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. That one? Yep. Probably a lot of you knew Jim Anderson. That's Jim Anderson's old house that he lived in. It's on North Jefferson Street. Very pointed architecture, and how else can you tell? The light in the front door, the steps, the window arrangement, just several things. And you know, I will drive around the neighborhood or walk around the neighborhood, and I go, Sears house, Sears house, Sears house. Okay, not a Sears house. Look alike. Somebody stole that one. You know? So, okay, some characteristics of some Sears houses. If a house has not been modernized too much, it may still have several columns in front, divided usually 2 or 3 windows, especially the top part of the windows. The bottom was one section and the top was divided. Dormers, 2 or 3 windows, gabled dormers, gabled, arched openings between the living room and the dining room, a breakfast nook. They almost all had a breakfast nook. Pocket doors. I think pocket doors are really kind of neat. Open stairs, they weren't in a separate area. A pantry, that was a new idea. Bay windows and gabled front porches. So those were some of the things in the original Sears houses. Then, if you had a more expensive house, here are some of the other things that they had. Beveled plate glass front door, a full front porch, not a part one. Fireplace, brick mantle, sleeping porch, because in the old days before air conditioning, it was a nice place to go. And you had a flower box with window boxes, beam ceiling with real wood in the dining room, fluted columns in front. This is neat. 1928 was the first time they had a telephone nook in the hallway. Some of us remember having one phone in your house in the old days, usually in the hallway. And when you got your second phone, where'd the second phone go? Kitchen. Yep. Large rooms. Trellis front porch, 6-paneled front door, not just 1 panel or 2 panels. Shutters started in 1923. Before that, they didn't have shutters in the houses. Corner fireplace, arch front door, a lantern over the front door. That's a light, okay, but that was a new thing to have as a lantern. Their competition later stole that idea from them. Front porch with iron railings, so you could get up the stairs without tripping. Side and rear entrance. Okay, they usually had rear entrances, but a side entrance was a new thing Sears started. Paneled wall in the living room and or the dining room, okay, with wood paneling was real, not just fiber or plasterboard, which they invented. Side lights by the front door. Okay, lavatory on the first floor if you had a two-story house. That was a big deal. And concrete block or brick front porch posts mounted in graceful wooden columns. So it's a lot of luxury things, and you didn't have to get all of these. You could buy them a la carte, okay? How can you prove a house is a Sears kit house? That's kind of a tricky thing, okay? Some of us remember the golden ticket from the movie Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, okay? They were looking for the golden ticket, and they looked and looked and looked and did all sorts of hook and crook. Well, there's 9 ways you can prove it's a Sears house, but most people don't have any idea where you even start. That is right there, the golden ticket, okay? I was talking to some on the east side of Batavia, and they said, yeah, we've got that. And then my jaw just dropped, and I go, oh my gosh. This tells that the wood from it came from Carroll, Illinois, where they had a big 40-acre lumber yard down there, located next to 4 major railroad yards so that they could ship the lumber all over the country quickly, okay? So that's part of it. Another part that's easy if you can find it is on the bottom of the stairs that go upstairs or downstairs to the basement. They're all numbered. Everything had a number on it, okay? So go home and look in your house and see if you've got numbers. That's the easy way to find it. Other than that, it takes a lot of digging. I go to the courthouse and the records and stuff like that. Or here's another one. Family from Geneva let me borrow this. It's from Owensboro Foundry and or Lumberyard in Ohio. There were 4 big places that made these things. And here's another one. So they are here. And one of the gentlemen that's here today brought one from his house, show and tell, and you go, you get the golden ticket I'll take you out for lunch after we're done. For bringing that in. They're up here, and after we're done, if you want to come up and see, I've got some of the books. There's basically 8 really good books about the history of Sears houses. One of them is about the houses in the 20s, one in the 30s, one in the 40s. Even though they went out of business in 1940, they still sold the houses that they didn't, that were waiting to be sold, okay? The kit houses. This is Mary Beth Lang, or Beth Lang. She works at Heinz Greenhouse in St. Charles, and I got to meet her and go in her house. Sometimes it was kind of funny. I or my daughter would drive, and there's a house. There's a Sears house. I know it is. So I get out of the car and take a picture. Well, her son came out and said, can I help you? Like, why are you here? You know, like, go away, you know. And I'd explain I'm a geek on Sears houses, and that opened the door. All of a sudden, you know, I was invited in and got to look at their house, and she was one of the people that has the golden ticket, and she let me borrow it, and it's up here, and I've taken very good care of it because that's part of the proof. It's just great. It's a certified house because of that, and she's got a bunch of books and other letters and stuff from Sears talking about it. And Sears, when they went out of business, you could write them a letter, and they'd say, we don't have the information anymore. It's too bad. So, what is a Sears house or a Sears kit house? A Sears kit house is made from a kit, made up of thousands of pieces and generally ordered from a catalog. See examples. So the examples are up here, and you can look at them and see how they did these kind of things. After a while, there was also some field offices because the Sears houses were a hit, a big deal in major cities spread across the country where your house could be ordered once the sale of the kit houses were good enough. They had to have sell enough houses in order to start a field office. And just in Illinois, they had one in Aurora, one in Calumet City, one in Chicago, Elgin, Joliet, Peoria, Rockford, and Waukegan. Plus, in Indiana, they had 5, 11 in New York, 14 in Ohio, 7 in New Jersey, and a lot of other states would have 1 or 2 field offices where we could go in and see the stuff and sign the papers right there, okay? There's the flatbed truck railroad thing. Now you had to live near a siding because the railroad would drop the car off, and you got usually 3 days to empty it and get it out of there so they could get it back on the railroad line. But somebody knew how to pack a railroad car, a box car, to put all of this stuff in like that. And then it was all easy to unload, okay? Why are Sears kit houses so popular? Well, they advertised. They had nice pictures like this. They put them in their regular catalog that people would look at and they go, oh, wouldn't that be nice to have a Sears house? Okay, look at bold print. Stop paying rent. Quit building castles in the air. Build a real castle, a home of your own. Back around 1908, 1920s, in that era, a lot of people lived in, they doubled up with their parents or grandparents and stuff like this. David, I think that's David in back. Fox Grover, want a seat? There's a couple up here.
No, I was just looking.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they're 25 cents a piece in the family. Yeah, but people, like lived in apartment buildings, 2 flats or 3 flats, like a lot of in Chicago and things like this. And this is a chance at a reasonable price to get out and have your own house. A lot of the houses were four-room houses, not 4 bedrooms, but 4-room. But you could do it and get started on home ownership, okay? Now, they always had the easy payment plan. There it is. It tells you like how much this costs and stuff like this. And at the bottom, you fill in the information about you. Now, number 6, this is interesting. It says, what is your occupation? They never asked, how much money do you make? They would give you a loan on a house based on your occupation. And you go, wow, that was a funny way to do things. Sears would give you, would sell you the kit house. They would sell you or help you pay for the land if you didn't have the land yet, okay? If you wanted to, they would hire a contractor or give you money to hire a contractor to put your house together. They were just really, really nice to their customers, okay? They're nice for a lot of reasons. One is they're gonna make money. Julius Rosenwald knew how to do this. Second thing is, if you bought a Sears house and you didn't have a house before, you're probably gonna furnish it. So you're going to have to get, let's see, a dining room table, beds, towels and all the rest of that stuff. So it was a triple way of making money, and Sears figured it out, okay? Just as an aside, I was at a doctor's appointment yesterday, and two of the young people that were working there, they said, what are you doing tomorrow? And I said, well, I'm doing a talk about Sears houses. And they go, huh? Yeah. Okay. Then I asked them, are you familiar with Sears Roebuck? No. Never heard of it. 2 of these young people, and you go, oh my goodness sakes. Yeah. And I tried to explain, it's kind of like Walmart, when they sold about everything you could think of, and they go, oh, that sounds interesting. Well, it was. So, okay. The main benefit in buying a Sears house was the price. Sears houses were not cheap. There were other people that sold kit houses, but less expensive than a pre-built house. If you wanted to buy a house that was already in existence, it was cheaper to buy the kit and put it together. If you had trouble financing through conventional means, a kit house was a viable alternative. They would talk to almost anybody about buying one of their houses. Here's the first page of the 75-page direction manual when you got it, and it says to do things in order. Don't skip steps or it won't work. Okay? The manual was leather covered, and when you got it, it had your name embossed in gold on the cover. So it was something, a keepsake that you could really do. And this is great. It says in the 3rd paragraph, the building of a home by the ready-cut method is simple and easy. Well, if you knew almost nothing about building a house, and there's the pile of lumber and shingles and everything else, I could put it together in 3 months, okay? If I had any skills, I could probably put it together in 2 months. If I had some friends that knew what they were doing, I could probably put it together in 2 weeks, okay? And one of the nice things about Sears houses, kit houses, was all the lumber was cut, pre-cut, and you know exactly how to put it together. The only thing you needed to build a Sears house, a kid house, was a hammer. Everything else came in a train. It was just amazing. And they had like house raising parties, like they did barn raising parties in the old days and stuff like this. So Julius Rosenwald, the guy that figured this out, was a genius. Okay, now, catalog houses that are not Sears kid houses in Geneva. Okay, I've looked these up. One of the first company that made kit houses was Aladdin, and they were from Bay City, Michigan, and they started in 1906. Sears started in 1908, so Aladdin beat them by 2 years. And Aladdin was still selling houses in 1960. That's when they went out of business. They did not destroy their records. They gave their records to the University, Central Michigan University, so if you want to go digging around some old records, it's there. Well, Aladdin was one of the big companies. Harris Brothers, and those are the years of houses that they have in Geneva that were built by those various companies. You can see Aladdin was a big one. A company called Lewis, Sterling, Gordon Van Dyne, they built a bunch of houses. Montgomery Ward's has one in Geneva. Montgomery Ward's was a competitor of Sears in about everything, and they lost out in houses. Home Builders Plan in 1928, and then people have asked about this thing called Lustrum House. Those are the metal houses that came, and they were made in Columbus, Ohio, and there's a few of them around. There's one in Geneva, was built in 1949, and it's still there. Okay. Then the Sears houses in Geneva, I arranged them by decades. There was one in 1919, and there's a bunch of them in the 1920s, 1930s, a couple, and 1942 was the last. Even though Sears had quit selling the houses, they still sold off the rest of the inventory. So you go, that's how it happened then. Okay, where were they made? Okay, Holman Avenue in Chicago? No, that's where Julius Rosenwald moved the headquarters of Sears from downtown. It was in a bunch of buildings that were scattered around, and he said, this is crazy. So they bought about 60 acres on Holman Avenue that included like everything that they needed in order to run a business, okay? Now, Carroll, Illinois is where the first lumber yard was, okay? I'll show you the slide in a minute. Owensboro, Kentucky is where the foundry was. They needed a foundry to make like pipes and doorknobs and metal kinds of things. Norwood, Ohio is where they had the sash and door company for all of the millwork kind of things. Newark, New Jersey was the last one of the bunch, 1926, and I'm not sure what they made. They're probably about everything else, or everything of the listed above. Sears' ability to mass produce the materials reduced the manufacturing cost, which allowed Sears to pass along the savings to lower prices. And a big thing was, when you got the wood from a Sears house, there were no knot holes in it. They had cut all the knot holes out of the longer logs that they had, and they used those for smaller little things that they needed rather than like the ceiling and the floors and the walls and the cabinets and all of that kind of stuff. Okay, here's a picture of their lumber yard in Carroll, Illinois. It's 40 acres. You can see where the trains would come and load and unload. At the bottom picture, you can see there's a lot of train tracks there. And they would go mostly north or east, or some of them went south and put them down there. So that's where they cut the lumber for the thing. They did have a flood down there back in, I think it was 1926, and the lumber all floated off. And so they hired a bunch of people, let's put it back together and let's dry it out and sell it, but they did have a flood. Okay, here's the one in Ohio, another one. Sears was a big deal, and here's where they manufactured stuff for Sears Roebuck. Okay, pre-cut lumber can reduce construction time by up to 40%, so you could make your house yourself faster. In the balloon style of framing, they didn't invent it, but they manufactured their house with balloon style, which means it's not solid walls. There's a 2x6 or 2x8 every 12, 14, 16, 20 inches, whatever it was in the style. Did not require a team of skilled carpenters. As previous methods of building, only one carpenter was required, or you, to build the house, okay? Sears houses were ordered from a catalog and are usually by number. You can look up here, the first couple catalogs, that they're all by number. And it was confusing because as the next year catalog or 2-year catalog came out, they would renumber the same house. So it made it look like they had a lot of houses. They didn't have that many. There were about 140 different numbers used. And somebody came up with, I don't know if it was with Julius Rosenwald or another guy, with a better idea. Instead of selling houses by number, give them names. And since Sears was in Chicago, they named a lot of their houses after various suburbs, like, Aurora, Barrington. Jim Anderson lived in a Barrington house. Bruhn, Dundee, Elmhurst, Flossmoor, Homewood, Rockford, Wheaton, and the list goes on. Also, they like to use classy names like Auburn, Dartmouth, Fair Oaks. People go, oh, that's my house, the Fair Oaks. There were 334 named houses. Their sales greatly increased when they started using names rather than numbers for houses. Just sounded classier, okay? How much did a Sears house cost? What was the price range? They had a wide range of prices, ranging from, you could buy a house for $142.
Oh my goodness.
In 1911, it was a 4-room house, up to $5,972 in 1971 was for the Magnolia. Now, some of you probably know there's a Magnolia house nearby. Okay, anybody know where it is? It's the house south of the funeral home on Route 31. It's a block from here, okay? That was the top of the line, the best house Sears ever sold. We're going to talk more about that in a little while, okay? Now, the price depended on size and the year. Also, if you chose, Sears would do the financing price, finance the price of your lot, and even give the cost of hiring a contractor to construct your house. People liked Sears and houses. Many of the houses were in about the $1,200 to $2,400 range. A lot of them. The Crescent is one of my favorites. You're going to see more about the Crescent in a little while and how much it costs. Most expensive houses in Magnolia, a 10-room house that started at $5,140 in 1918, and the price went up to $5,972 3 years later. It's kind of a big price jump back in the old days. And then they quit making them, okay? Are there any more Sears houses around Batavia or Geneva? So Batavia has 28 certified houses, and I found some more by knocking on the door and saying, my name is Karl Bruhn, I'm not running for Congress, and I'm not selling anything, okay? But I think you live in a Sears house. You want to talk about it, and some people are very nice about it, and some people couldn't care less. Okay, Geneva has 12 certified houses. But in visiting various neighborhoods, there are probably more, many more, probably dozens not yet certified, and maybe that'll be my goal for this summer, okay? Where else locations where Sears houses are popular? We're interested in Illinois. We're in Ohio, very popular. Indiana, New Jersey, Michigan, most of the Midwest, and they're in every single state except Alaska and Hawaii, okay? They didn't get it. Some states only had 1 or 2, like Arizona, okay? You're basically needed to have a lot where you're going to build your house near a railroad track or a siding so you could unload rather quickly your house from the railroad car. As a result, there were many Sears houses in towns that had railroads, okay? Batavia had railroads, Aurora had railroads, Downers Grove brags that they have the most Sears houses in the country and the city, which isn't true. Elgin will brag the same thing because they had railroads there, and wherever there were railroads is where it was easy to get a house. Carroll Stream doesn't have a whole lot. They don't have any railroads, and it's also a new town, but you had to be near a train. What was special about Sears houses today? Quality of materials. If people are looking to buy a used house today and there's a Sears house available, people will go in those things, especially if it's been taken care of and go. They didn't skimp. They did a really nice job on this, okay? Nice layouts and designs. The funny thing is there's basically like 6 designs for the inside of a Sears house. What changed was the outside, okay? Where they put the front door and stuff, but most of the inside are pretty much the same. A variety in architecture. You drive down a street that's got a bunch of Sears houses and they don't all look alike, okay? Good-sized common rooms. Living room and dining room were big. Kitchen was kind of small, but the common rooms were big. They were guaranteed. If you didn't like it, they'd get your money back, okay? The very good resale value. Even today, I just told you a little while ago, about 2 houses in Batavia, they're going for over $500,000. And they were in the range of $2,000 when they were built. Here's the inside of one of the houses, okay? Dining room, living room, and Stairs. Stairs almost always look the same. They had a new post that looked like that. But the thing that's cool is they had double molding. You can see molding up along the top, and then above the door between the two rooms, and they had molding there. So it looked, we go, wow, this really looks cool, And of course, they also sold, if you wanted, you could buy a fireplace, okay? It was a la carte for a lot of things. And you could get beams, real wood, before they came up with fake wood, up in the ceiling and stuff. Now, everybody eventually wanted to get plumbing in their house, okay? Some of the first houses in Batavia did not have plumbing, even though the city had plumbing. Here's an example of an add-on thing if you wanted to. You could buy all the stuff you needed for your bathroom for $37.95, okay? Yeah, they have a funny name for the toilet. They called it the closet. They didn't call it a toilet then. And then it's got all the details why this is really well made, kind of neat. You can order whatever kind of doors you would like. The one that's to the right of the one in the middle was the most expensive, $17.18, and the reason was because it had a mirror, okay? Mirrors were pretty expensive, but pick your front door. Then they had all sorts of kinds of molding you wanted, and at the bottom of the page it tells about the blueprints. And I don't know when, I haven't figured this out yet, when they started making blueprints for houses. I just haven't gotten that figured out yet, but they really were blueprints in the old days. Okay? Then everybody needed to have a furnace if you lived in Illinois, so they sold different levels of furnaces. The one at the left burned soft coal. The one in the middle burned hard coal. Cost a little bit more. Hard coal lasted longer. And either kind of coal you could put in the one at the Acme Universal furnace on the right. Now let's see some examples of Sears houses from their catalogs. Okay? Every couple of years they put out a new catalog of the houses that they sold. There's a house just like that in Batavia. I'll show you a picture in a little bit, okay? The Honor Built, B-I-L-T, that's their signature thing that they had, and this is the Mitchell House. And they made a lot of catalogs, which sold a lot of houses, okay? This is one of their competitors. No, this is the Sears house, okay? You can see the inside. Of course, it had a piano, because everybody in the old days took piano lessons. Yeah, good for them. And the first magazine in America printed with colored pictures was the cover. It's called The New Century. It was in 1893. It was published partly for the World's Fair in Chicago. By 1906, several other companies were printing in 4 colored prints. And by about 1916, they had different in the different magazines, they'd have a colored section of maybe 4 or 6 or 8 pages, so they weren't all like that. Some of us can probably remember Reader's Digest that used to have some of the ads were in color. The first regularly scheduled magazine that was done in color was the Saturday Evening Post. People loved it. Their sales took off, and as a result, they made more money. So everybody else was a copycat and eventually got into it. Well, Sears catalogs came with sections in the catalogs that were in color. So people could drool over these things and they go, yeah, I want one like that. That is really cool. So the whole catalog wasn't in color. Here's the Alhambra. It's one of the really famous models of houses that they don't have. We don't have one in Batavia that I can find. But you can see the molding, the double layer of molding, and you walk in and you go, that is really classy, and all of the other parts that it was from. There's an ad from the Batavia Historical Society catalog in the basement, okay? So here's one of the examples, Maplewood House. A lot of them look like this. It came from drawings. And in the corners, you can see the upstairs and the downstairs. So you could see what it looked like before you signed on a dotted line. Some of them had prices in the catalogs. There's the Rodessa, there's one in Batavia, and you can see the layout. If you want to see more, come on up when we're done. We can do that. This is one I think that's really beautiful, the Hathaway, $1,299. And if you had a classy Sears house, it had window boxes that came as part of the package. Okay. Here's the Crescent. It's one of my favorites. That's they're in Batavia and Geneva and Downers Grove and Elton and all over. Okay. It was just a really lovely, lovely house, and that's what it looked like. And you could get it with different floor plans. You could arrange it in different ways. There's one that's the same place with an ad on it. And I don't know why it's in blue, but it turned out that way. So the Crescent was $1,900 and $2,410, and some of the prices would go up $1 or $2 or $3 in the next catalog, not $100 or more, but just a lovely house. Okay, so how do you know it's a Sears house? Okay, the columns in the front kind of give it away. The archway over the doors, the window arrangement on both sides. Okay. Give it away as a Sears house. The overhang, the chimney on the right on the end. Some of the Sears houses, most of the Sears original houses were built on concrete slabs. I know that sounds funny. You think it's all ranch houses in the 1950s and 60s, but they did. But then you could have them dig out a basement underneath, which was done initially with horses and scoops, and then they'd build them and move them up and stuff like that. There's an example of a nice Crescent house. When did Sears quit selling their fine quality houses and why? Okay. They quit selling them in, anybody listening? Anybody listening? 1940. Okay. Why? Okay. Because Sears was foreclosing on people that were not able to pay their monthly payment, which could be $15 or $20 or $30 or $40, depending upon what you bought. The people were very upset by getting foreclosed on because they go, this is my house. I built this in 1923 and it's my house. And Sears will hold up and say, no, it's my house. You gotta leave. So they got really bad PR on that. Also because they furnished their house with Sears stuff. And, they had to get out, and that was the main reason why they closed, or maybe equal to the number two, but, they foreclosed in the houses, and then that's when they got rid of all of their records. So, second thing, the kit houses got more complicated, okay? When they first started selling Sears houses, there was not much involved in putting in wiring in your house, or plumbing. But over the years, it became more complicated, and the regular guy like me could not put a house together like that. So that was the second reason. Okay. Now let's look at some existing local kit houses. This is the Crescent. It's in Geneva. It was built in 1923, and it's beautiful. And that was the place that I was taking the pictures out on the street, and I was just about chased off until I said, I'm at Sears house, not, and they, oh, well, come on in, So they've changed a lot of things in there. Among other things, there are skylights, okay? Those were not original and stuff, but the windows look like they are, the door, everything else. It's from 1923. It's an old house. There's the side view of it, okay? You can see the front steps and the posts that they have that hold it up. There's their front door. That is probably an original Sears front door, and the doorknob, it's like, that's still there. And a lot of them still have the original front door. There's another one in Geneva, okay? Similar, it's got a fireplace on the side. And Sears also sold, if you were interested, garages. You could buy a garage for $200, okay? And originally there were one-car garages, and eventually in the 1930s they sold 1- and 2-car garages, which some of them were attached if you wanted it. That was a new thing. But the window arrangement in front, it's got it. On the side of the front door, they have these things called lights, which are really windows on both sides to let more light in. That was one of the signs. Oh, that's a Sears house, okay? Another one was a Hamilton. They built a bunch of Hamilton houses in the suburbs, and it's what they look like. 3 windows in front, dormer upstairs, and that's it. This one was built on a concrete block, okay? Here's another Hamilton. It's a different way, a different look to it, but that's it. Still there. This is the Dover, 1928. There's been several of those in Batavia. Some really houses in Batavia. Okay, this is the oldest house that I could find in Batavia. It's a 1910 house. It's on 234 South Prairie. After the road construction is done, you might want to drive by there. Until the construction is done, and maybe you don't want to go by and see it and stuff like that. But that is the original 1910 house in Batavia, which sold for $1,283 for a 4-room house. Here's a side view. Some of the houses put dormers or bay windows on. One, you can see on the right, there's a bay window in the dining room. But that's the oldest house in Batavia. And it's still red and probably been painted several times since the Sears original paint came with the house. Now, everybody needed to have one of these things in the old days, okay? Sears sold outhouses, okay? This is a 4 square foot outhouse, okay, for $39. And if you read down a little bit in there, it says, well-finished seats, one for adults, one for children. Okay? And it's portable. So if you move to another house, just pick it up and take it with you. Okay? So they thought of everything, okay? Now here's some houses in Batavia, okay? This is the Gladstone, which also was renamed 3 or 4 other names besides that, but it's just an absolutely gorgeous house. It's on East Church Street. And there it is. The pillars on the front porch, the bottom part are brick, the top part are wood, okay? They generally used ionic columns or Doric, and there it is. It's well landscaped. It's just a beautiful house. And that was here's one on Spring Street called a Stratford. I don't know how much this house cost, but in the catalog it said you could get this one. This is for rich people, for $50 to $65 per month when you do your house payments and stuff. Note the rounded door. Okay, that was very fashionable for a while. Okay, it's also hard to get replacements nowadays. The flower boxes, and if you look under the window next to the door to the right of the thing, they had mail slots. And that was really cool. Man, my house has got a mail slot. Okay, and then there's 2 others from 1925 on the east side, similar. There's the same house again. This has a 1-car garage, and you look at it, and it looks like it could be original. So just amazing. Then here's the inside from a colored catalog from a Gordon Van Tyne house, to show you what it could look like when it's furnished. Beautiful, in color. There's another one with a piano, because everybody took piano lessons in the old days. And, so you could just envision what this would be like as your house, okay? Then the Sears houses came with paint. And those are the common colors that they came with. I don't know if they came with any other colors besides those, but they would make a suggestion to you what color to paint your house to make it look really classy, okay? So, and the 3 coats of paint was considered normal. They didn't have good primer in the old days, okay? Here's a Gladstone on Delia Street, okay? It's still there, and it looks like a Sears house. And it's got the big overhang on the side and stuff like this. And like a lot of houses, they put an addition on the back side. So that makes it a little more livable nowadays, okay? Now this is a gem, okay? This is on East Elizabeth Street. It had different names and numbers. The number was 147 in the old catalog, and then they called it the Somers and then the Hamilton, and those are the prices that I can find. And it's certified, and over here I've got the certification stuff that they were very nice to me. Back, I put on there, it was listed by J.S. Jeff Schulke was the guy that sold this house once upon a time. Jeff, do you remember it?
Very well.
Okay. Yeah. So they remember Jeff as well. So yeah. Okay. Under the stairs, there's where you can see the numbers. There's the certification, the thing that came with, and if you didn't like what you got, you could return it. I bet nobody did that. Okay. There's 2 golden tickets in that one house. Here's Jim Anderson's old house. The Barrington was built in 1927, North Jefferson Street. And today you look at the thing, and the only thing that's really different is the handrails when you go up to the top. But really, really nice house. Here's one called the Hathaway, 1928. It's on Cleveland. Looks like it's kind of Dutch influence, which was a big deal, and it's lovely, well maintained. Here's one on Prairie, 230 South. This one has big overhangs, and you can see the braces that they have, and that's one of the things that Sears did a lot of, the big braces. Okay, here's Pat and Art Duacruz's house on Illinois Street. It's right next to Memorial Park, if you know where that is. Very nice house, and they let me in, and you can see what the front door looks like, and there's a picture of the doorknob. It's just really, really nice. Okay? It's 1930s. There's also Mount Vernon, Mr. Vernon, Mount Vernon, okay, that you just don't expect to see. It's down there, and the color is beautiful. As you can see in the picture on the right, you can see where an addition's been put on to the back of the house, which is common. Okay. Another, this looks like a crescent, but it's off a little bit by the front porch. You can still see the roof line doesn't look like a crescent. Here's an interesting house, 1935 house on North Washington in Batavia. And on the right picture, I don't know if they just didn't believe in updating or modernizing their house, but there's a water pump in the yard, And I haven't had a chance to talk to them and ask them about that, but the house does have indoor plumbing, okay? Yeah. So here's the crescent again, this is one of my favorite houses in Batavia. This is just great. There's the front. You can see the side on the picture on the right. On the left-hand side of the chimney, you can see there's been an addition to it. Okay, but this is built on a hill, and you can see on the right there's a little bit of the hill there. There's a side. It's got air conditioning in it. It's got window boxes. It's just really neat. Here you can see Sears was one of the first places to sell bricks for foundations, and they did them so they put their house on bricks, and it's on a hill that goes down to the river. And on the picture on the right, you can see the back porch. And here's another one, okay? This is a wonderful house on Walnut Street in Batavia, and somebody in the audience used to live there. Is anybody?
It's right over here.
Yeah. Bev Waterfield, right there. That's Bev's old house, right, Bev?
Well, it was my parents' old house.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, there are people that live in Sears houses or lived in Sears houses, and she lived there for a few years when she was young. It's just, it's nice. Yeah, if you look on real estate listings, there's pictures from the inside of the house, big piece of property and stuff like this. Now, this one looks like a Sears house, and when I'm knocking on the doors, the people are going, well, nobody was answering the door, but they were driving in their driveway, so I stopped them and explained what my situation was. And they said, no, it wasn't a Sears house, and they told me what it was, but I didn't write it down. And I've been by the house many times, including yesterday, around between 5 o'clock and sunset, and, because I don't want to go after it's dark, because they'll go, that's a weird guy, and stuff like this. But it's a gorgeous house. You see the light over the front door there? That was one of the Sears trademarks that they came up with in the 1930s. They put outdoor lighting in case they had somebody come at night. Not me, but somebody else. Okay. Now, the Magnolia. This was the most elegant of all the houses that Sears made. Just an absolutely gorgeous house. And inside the Magnolia house on the avenue, there's a picture on the wall of what the house looked like in the old days. Okay. And you can see the driveway, the porch area there, and all that. When you bought a Sears house, you could change the architecture. If you didn't like the way it was, they would reverse the house at no extra cost. So when they sent out the plans, they would just reverse the house. And this house, they reversed and put the sunroof on the south side, because on the north side was a funeral home. And they go, okay, let's we don't want to look out the window at a funeral home. Let's look out the windows at the neighbors, which used to be before it was apartments and stuff like that. This was the colonial. Here's some pictures of what it looked like on the inside. They're probably kind of hard to see, but it's a picture I was able to find, and it's got like the various rooms, the stairways, all of that. It was just the elegance of living there was amazing. There's the stairway, the second floor, sconces on the wall, nice carpeting. The floors in there are still there, are original in most of the rooms. Okay. This is one of the ads that they use, the 10-room colonial. It's got the sunroom on the right, and that's where it was on a number of them. There's like 8 or 9 of these left in the country. You look them up and you go, oh, there's one here and there's one there, but there are just not many of them. And you go, Okay, it cost you a lot of money to rehab this house, but it was just elegant. Okay, there's one. Plans for sale. Now, Sears would give you the plans for a house for free, except this one. They didn't want somebody to steal their idea, so it cost you $10 to get a set of plans. Because the local builders and contractors would say, "Oh, I can build that house," stuff like this. But this one, they sold it. Oops. Here's the first floor plan. Note, it's got a reception hall. I like in the kitchen up at the top, it's got a refrigerator, so the lid's like way up at the top. Refrigerator with an ice door, because they deliver the ice to your house, and you had to keep it like that. Stairs and rear hall, stairway, just amazing. The rear hall, a nook in the den, where if you wanted to go hide for a little while and read a book. Porch carrier on the left-hand side. Okay, a large open terrace in front. People used to actually use a front porch and talk at night. It's in the days when we had sociability and stuff like this, and less mental problems because people were social. Okay, here's the second floor. Okay, 4 bedrooms. Okay, 2 baths. 2 dressing rooms, a sleeping porch, because if it was hot in the summer, you would want to sleep on the sleeping porch. 2 decks, a landing, stairs to the attic. It's near the bathrooms. Most houses didn't have stairs to the attic. You had to crawl through a little hole or something like this. The bedroom in the top left-hand corner was probably used for live-in servants. Okay, and they had their own bathroom. There it is, like this month. It's changed a lot. The front porch doesn't look like it used to. They have a dumpster in the front yard, but oh well. You can park in back. This is from a week ago. This is the radiator and the sconce and the wall and some of the doors. Okay, 5 or 6 panel doors. There's the stairway to the second floor. Isn't it still a gorgeous thing? It's four different businesses are there now. Okay, this is in one of the offices. They did paneling. I don't know if this paneling is original or not, but it's beautiful. The floor is beautiful. The library, that's what it's like this week. Okay, this is the boss's office in the sun porch. Just lovely. Now this is one of the houses that they have in Benson, North Carolina. That looks like it's still there. The sun porch is on the left. Okay, in the right, I don't know what they put there, but probably another sun porch. That's lovely. This is one that's sadly in distress. Okay, and oh my gosh, how can you just let a house like that go? But it would cost a lot of money to bring it back. But here's ours. Now, a few interiors, photos of current or renovated Sears houses. I got 4 minutes on the market. How well did Sears houses hold up and how do they age? Note the woodwork. Okay, this is a current Sears house for sale. Okay, that's what it looks like on the inside. The windows are beautiful. They had rounded doors, beautiful floors, fireplaces. Okay, beautiful stairs. It's been modernized. They put a ceiling fan in. Good for them. Okay, the windows in the dining room. Okay, the kitchen. With the woodwork around the door. The sink is particularly interesting because it looks like they kept the old bottom and got a newer top, maybe in the 50s. Okay, bathrooms still have a lot of wood in it. How much is original? I'm not sure. Okay, master bedroom upstairs with dormer and ceiling fan and light. Windows. Okay, with the windows, the bottom was usually 1 piece of glass and the top was usually 3. So, now something a bit unusual at the end of an early Sears catalog. Okay. They also sold schools. Can you imagine buying this school, 6 classrooms, for $11,500? My goodness sakes, that's just amazing. I don't know how many they sold, I can't find it, okay? Closing comments. Somebody said, Sears houses were like giant Lego sets. Well, kind of, okay? There's no official list of all the Sears houses that exist anywhere. People have been working on this for a long time. And this is one of my favorites. And finally, a little humor I found on the internet. Sears kit houses are kind of like roaches. If you find 2 such houses, there are probably another 20 hiding somewhere nearby. So, thank you if you want to come up and see some catalogs or other things like that. Does anybody have any questions? I got 1 minute left. Or two questions. Yeah, Dave, question? No, you're stretching, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Are there any Sears homes in St. Charles?
Yes, okay. My expedition did not go that far, but I know they're up there. And now that you know what they look like, okay, make a little thing like this. My name is Karl Bruhn. I'm not selling anything. And I think you live in a Sears house. And if anybody wants to borrow it, or you can have this, I've got extra copies. You can go around your neighborhood and say, okay, here's how you do it. And it's a different kind of calling card. How you can politely get into somebody's house, but they don't know who you are. Another question? Yes, sir.
How long were the mortgages at Sears office?
It varied, but usually 15 to 20 years. When you signed it out of line, you could do it, but most of them are 15. Okay, and the cheapest mortgage I found was $10 a month. Okay, so yes.
I have a question. You may not know this. Do you know this, like the square footage of some of these homes, like a ballpark, like the small homes? What would this?
About 1,200 square feet.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And some of these larger ones.
Yeah, the Magnolia was like 4,500 or something. Yeah. So most of them started out with 4-room houses, and then they went to 4 rooms with a bathroom, and 5 rooms, and then 6. So they eventually got up to. I grew up in Oak Park, and there's a house called Oak Park in Geneva, I think it is. That's got 8 rooms. That was one of the big houses in the old days. Yes, another question?
Did you say those metal houses, there's all kinds of them in Aurora, and I love going bike riding and look at these. Did you say those are the Lustrum houses?
Right.
Okay.
Yep, those are the ones.
I took notes on them.
Yeah, and they're easy to find. There's only one in Geneva. There's none in Batavia that I
All
know
kinds
of.
of them in Aurora, just, the biggest one that I can think of is on, it's near Aurora University.
Right. One of the interesting thing about the Lustrum houses, besides being all metal, okay, and it was easy to assemble it when they came on trucks from Columbus, Ohio. They tried something new, which was a neat idea. In the kitchen was the dishwasher, which was a pretty new idea. But if you took out the racks, you could also put your clothes in there and do your laundry. I don't think it stuck around. Yes, sir.
Where did all the lumber come from?
Most of the lumber came from the southern forests, Georgia, etc. It was all virgin lumber. It was all first cut. They never did any second cut because it would stay straight. Some of it came from the northwest, but they were always prime first cut forest wood. And then they would cut, when they made the pieces, they cut off all the sections with an axe, so they didn't have them, which was kind of a neat way to brag, look, we sell good stuff. Yes?
Sir, Blue Island had a lot of railroads. Would that be another community where there might be some Sears homes?
Which town?
Blue Island?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
No. The biggest collection of Sears houses sold in one clump was in Carlinville, Illinois, and neighboring towns around there. They sold 196 houses down there, and Carlinville had a coal mine, and they needed to get people to move down there to work in the coal mine, most of which were from Eastern Europe around the time of World War I, and they would get free rent or you could buy the house, okay? Why did they have a coal mine down there? Because in the old days, you had to heat up crude oil in order to separate it by jet fuel and kerosene and gasoline and stuff like this. And they did that at the Whiting, Indiana refinery, which is still there. They don't use coal anymore to separate it, okay? But they needed a lot of coal to heat the crude oil so that they could separate the thing, and that's how they got them. And so they built a lot of houses down there. Some of the mines weren't well propped up. So some of the houses down there are on a slant because your house is caving in. You know, but that was the biggest single sale that they had was the Standard Oil of Indiana. So.